Welcome to the Deerwood Realty YouTube channel. I'm John Schenk, founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty here in St. Louis, Missouri. You know, you ever wonder like what's going on in the marketplace? Maybe you're not actively in it. Maybe you're not looking to buy or sell right now, but you're like, I'd really like to know how things are shaking out. Well, oddly enough, the realtors have a Realtor Confidence Index, and so they have all these questions that they ask, and then realtors around the country go ahead and fill it out, and then we can see what they're thinking. It's actually kind of easy to see what's going on. So I pay attention to it because I think that it's just kind of helpful to what I do every day. But let's just go in and break it down. So here's the start of it, and it looks pretty, right? And then it's got all this here, and that's great. But I just wanted to get mainly into the survey and see how it goes. So let's just go through it. It says the market outlook. So the percent of respondents who expect a year-over-year increase in buyer traffic in the next 3 months. So it was in September of 2022, it was 7%. And in September of 2023, it's 8%. So an increase in buyer traffic in the next 3 months, 7% and 8%. Well, that seems kind of strange to me because in September of 2022, things were still pretty okay in the market. So let's look at the percentage of respondents who expect a year-over-year increase in seller traffic in the next 3 months. 8% in 2022 and 10% in 2023. So what is that saying? It's possibly saying that 2% more people think that the market's going to get unlocked, right? It says median days on market, 21 up from 19 last year. That's still indicating a pretty hot market. Anything over a month starts to get a little bit more interesting. They use 6 months for supply and demand. I think that's a little bit too much. The percentage of properties sold in less than a month, 70% in 2022 and 69% in 2023, but that's still phenomenal. First-time home buyers as a percent of sales, 29% in 2022 and 27% in 2023. There was a big to-do about the first-time home buyer not being the largest category of home buyers. It was actually the boomers during the past pandemic. Kind of interesting to see that it's kind of staying steady. Sales for non-primary residence use as a percent of sales, 15%, and now it's up to 18%. Now that flies in the face of the idea that the rental leasing market is hurting, at least nationally, and at least as according to a survey. So it's kind of like, what do you think versus what is happening? Sales intended for vacation use, 7% in 2022 and 6% in 2023. That's a little bit surprising. I would have thought it would be even less due to the high mortgage rates or the low affordability. Distressed sales, okay, in September 2022, it was 2%. Now it's 1%, according to the survey. But think about that. We already know that foreclosures have been increasing. So the fact that it's below last year makes no sense. And the reason why I'm trying to bring this to you and try to show is, look, you can get your information in a number of different places, but I'm actually in the market. Like, I actually do real estate as my primary job. And I can tell you when I see numbers that don't jive with what I'm seeing. That's the whole point of the channel. So if you like that sort of thing, please subscribe. It's the average number of offers received on the most recent sale. The first one in September 2022 was 2.5, and in September 2023 was 2.6%. Or it's 2.6, not as a percentage. But can you believe that? Average number of offers received on the most recent sale, 2.5 versus 2.6. I mean, I can't imagine. It's just not in line with reality. And here's how it's crazy. When the market was hot, I was getting more than 30 offers on a property. Would not be unusual. And I was pricing it like correct with what the market was saying. I wasn't, trying to gouge anybody. And people wouldn't believe me. They'd say, "Oh, you didn't get 30 offers. That's not true." Well, I really did have 30 offers, and they were legitimate offers. So it's odd to me that it was only 2.5 and 2.6. year over year. And then percent of properties sold above the list price, 28% in 2022 and 26% now. See, I mean, there, at least in the Midwest, at least in St. Louis, there is still strong home buying. Let's look at some of these other stats I think are kind of fun. It says other market indicators, the percent of buyers who waived their inspection contingency. So 19% in 2022 and 27% in 2023, which indicates a very, very strong market. You're not waiving contingencies as a buyer if you think that you're, if you think that you've got an advantage over the seller. Percent of buyers who waives the appraisal contingency, 19% in September 2022 and 24% in September of 2023. Why do you think that more people would waive the appraisal contingency now? Doesn't make much sense. Percentage of buyers who purchase property based on virtual tour showing open house, only 8% to 9%. Let's try and figure that out. Who purchase property based on virtual tour showing open house only? I mean, how else would you buy it? That would be how I'd answer the question. Percent of buyers who purchased in a suburban, small town, rural, or resort area, 90%, 90% in 2022 and 85% in 2023. Very odd, very odd question. Like, how do you, it's just weird. Percent of respondents who had potential buyer looking for work from home features, 36% in 2022, 31% in 2023. I think that's something that we're seeing more of as people are going back to work in the office. Percent of realtors represented, or percent of sellers represented by realtors who sold the property to an iBuyer, 1%, and now it's 2%. Now look, iBuying is pretty much dead. I mean, they still have them, but it was, you have to understand, it was years in the making in the real estate business. Like, everyone would get asked at shareholder meetings and things of that nature, like, when are you going to roll out your iBuying? When are you going to roll out your iBuying? And people would just, wait a minute, we'll figure this out. Redfin, Zillow, all these guys couldn't wait to just get out there and do iBuying. And as soon as they did, they just lost millions and millions and millions of dollars. Now, not many people are asking anymore, hey, what about iBuyers? It's going to be interesting to see how that goes in the future. As the market was really, really good, if you couldn't make money when the market was good, imagine what you're going to be doing when the market is terrible. Median days to close 30. That's totally within what I would think. Percent of contracts in the last 3 months that were terminated, 6% in 2022 and 6% in 2023. So, I mean, when you do get a house, under contract, as a buyer, you have a pretty good belief that you're going to be able to get to the closing and actually get the house. That's nice. 15% of contracts in the past 3 months that had delayed settlement, 15% and 13%. So it's going down, which, is the difference between 15% and 13% that much? Not really. And then percent of contracts with a delayed settlement that had appraisal issues, 8% in 2022, 7% in 2023. Hard to categorize that because like in the contract you have an appraisal clause, okay? Even if you didn't do the contingency, if someone needed an appraisal, okay, then it would have gone under the clause. And if they needed an appraisal and waived their contingency, they were still going to have to buy the house anyway. So that's a little bit confusing as to why that was that way. But anyway, what did you think? Was that along the lines of what you would have perceived before the survey? I think the biggest thing is that, days on market are staying the same. We don't talk about inventory in that one. Only 8%, low numbers as far as realtors believing that the market's going to be better for sellers or for buyers, 10% for sellers. To me, those aren't very high numbers. I haven't looked at it historically, though. It comes to my email every once in a while and I see it. But anyway, other than that, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you on the next one.